Welcome to the show. After Donald Trump won the Indiana primary, Ted Cruz and John Kasich announced that they were pulling out of the race. Ken, what about Sanders?
Well, I think if you're feeling the burn at this point, you may want to consult with a physician. Because I think it would just take a small miracle for him to beat Hillary. I really do.
Well, and I think that's a fair point because the reality of the matter is we have the system that's set up to really, it's not a democratic system. It's an oligarchy set up by the two parties, but that's kind of played in the background by party players. So you're right about the delegates. The problem is that Hillary has, in the end, is no matter what happens, she can't seem to win states. People don't like her. The same problem that a lot of the establishment candidates had on the Republican side that, luckily or unluckily, depending on how you look at it, it played itself out on the Republican side, but none of them wanted Trump to win.
Right.
And the same thing is happening on the Democratic side.
Yeah, so I gotta say that my little Facebook comment on Wednesday, or maybe it was Tuesday night, I don't remember, after the election results, after Ted Cruz dropped out, and I know that Kasich didn't drop out till Wednesday, but I said it's no longer trust Ted, it's bust Ted, right?
Nice.
Okay, but let me just say this in terms of feeling the burn. There's no way. It's over.
So there is one way. Okay?
There's no way.
And that one way is that maybe he's hoping that she ends up in prison.
Well, that's
and if
a
that
way.
happens,
there's two things.
But you know what? That's not going to happen. Do you think that the Obama Justice Department is going to do that?
In all fairness, there's two ways. If you look at Hillary's lead, it's all based on superdelegates.
It is.
And they're not bound.
I get that.
So the reality of the matter is if he keeps winning states, the reality was she has an advantage in certain states, southern states and eastern, very highly liberal states. Anywhere else outside of that arena, she does very, very poorly, and that's exactly where she's lost. The reality is she's not doing well. By this point, any front-leading candidate should have wrapped up the nomination.
Well, that's because nobody trusts her.
And that's a real problem.
Nobody believes her. Nobody wants...
And
what difference
the Bushes part two.
Wait a minute. Nobody wants a second Clinton after having two Bushes in the last 20-some odd years.
That's exactly
and
my
there's
point.
something fundamentally wrong with that. And if people
not
are
a
not
dynasty.
concerned by that, they should be.
You know what, though? I do miss Bill Clinton. I really miss Bill Clinton because instead of trying to screw up the country, he was just trying to get screwed in the White House. So,
there's a certain segment of the unscrupulous media that misses him as well because he provided a lot of fodder for them.
So the interesting thing about Trump, and I will tell you on Wednesday morning, I was looking at Facebook, and I noticed that Elizabeth Warren posted something about anti-Trump. And I started reading the comments, and I apparently got to it early on. And as I was reading down the comments, number one, more than 60% of them were in support of Trump. Number two, as I was reading down the comments, you would not believe, you know how when you're reading comments, if a number of comments come in, it'll come up and say 10 new comments, that happened like 5 times as I was reading through these posts at about 7 o'clock this morning. So the point is, and there's a lot of ticked off voters. And I don't care whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat incumbent, you have hosed yourself because you have not kept your promise to the voters.
And here's the bigger problem. And again, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm probably going to go back to this again and again. We have a broken system.
yes.
Democracy in this country is no longer about voters. It's about these brokering systems, the Democratic Party
Keeping
and the
their power.
Republican system,
Yep.
which are more concerned about keeping power to themselves than they are about serving voters. And they have created this class of voters that don't become educated on the issues, don't respond to anything other than buzzwords that they're being fed that then cause a reaction from them.
Yeah.
And there's something fundamentally wrong with that. The one thing that really, really scares me about Trump, and I don't think Trump is everything that he said during the primary election. But what scares me about him is the fact that he's been willing to say those things in order to play a certain segment of the electorate in order to get past the primary. And that really, really worries me.
Something that really I found exciting was that right after Cruz announced that he's dropping out of the race, you go into Google Insights, you'll see that Google searches for Libertarian Party and Google searches for Gary Johnson, who's one of the Libertarian president candidates. Yeah, well, yeah, that's part of the problem. Just spiked on Google. So I really wonder if there's a lot more support now for a Libertarian candidate because people don't want Trump and they don't want Hillary.
Do you really think that a third-party candidate has an honest chance to win?
I don't think he has an honest chance to win this year. However, I think that we could possibly see another situation such as what happened with Ross Perot, where it may sway some of the votes and, steal from what, otherwise would be party line votes.
But to be honest, I think that's a great point that you bring, which is the fact that we have the entire system is designed to feed into the two parties.
Yeah.
So as a third-party candidate, you're not going to get any media play.
Right.
Like or dislike Bernie Sanders, he has been discounted by the popular media since the beginning of the race. Every single time there was an election, Hillary, 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 or a primary, Hillary, 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 everything. If you won, well, but Hillary still has the advantage. And if you won again, well, Hillary still has the advantage. So, and the same thing to some.
Well, the media is biased. They're totally subjective. It's no longer an objective media. I don't care.
Amen.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care which side of the spectrum they're on, whether they're liberal or conservative. They're all subjective.
Yep.
So you're getting their opinion. I mean, everything's an op-ed these days.
That's
all
instead
it
of
is.
actual news report.
Of course.
So
and
it's
actually,
like they're saying whatever they want to say about Trump. They're saying whatever they want you to believe about Hillary. They're putting out what they
And
want
the
you to believe
problem
about
is-
Bernie. And it's like, are you going to keep drinking the Kool-Aid or not?
And the problem is, with all due respect, a great portion of our electorate doesn't understand the difference between fact and opinion.
Right.
Well, and
This
that's
show
exactly,
is opinion, by the way.
And that's a fair point, and that's I would like to attribute that as a byproduct of the Cold War. So I see the look you give me. The Russians tried to control how people behaved, right? I think to some degree, and I don't think this was necessarily a meant or a conscious decision that was made at some point or another, but we seem to have become very good at controlling the way that people think by the information that we feed them.
So you don't think that the United States government tries to control the way the U.S. citizens behave?
Not purposefully, because
But you're right about the
honestly,
media because it's interesting, and I'm one of these people that I'll watch the two opposite ends of the continuum.
And you
I
get
go straight
completely
from
different
Fox
versions of reality.
News to MSNBC. Those are my two, and I don't believe necessarily either one of them, but somewhere in the middle is the truth. But the interesting thing is,
His story, her story, and the truth.
well, but the interesting thing
I
is,
get all my news from The Onion.
here's
So.
MSNBC.
probably more accurate.
MSNBC
Yeah.
will run stories that may be of interest, but Fox won't touch them because guess what? They're not Republican enough, and Fox will run
Not
stories that
conservative enough.
are very interesting, but guess what? MSNBC won't touch them because they're not Democrat. But can we move the conversation just for a minute because we don't have an unlimited amount of time here. Here is the interesting thing to me about a Trump candidacy. He can attack Hillary from the right,
Yep.
and he can attack Hillary from the left. He can say to Hillary, you voted for the Iraq War. That was the dumbest thing ever. I would have never done that. I told you already that Bush made us less safe when he did that.
Well, and to be honest, and I think you bring up a good point, and here is the part that worries me about Trump. And as I said, I think a lot of the things that he said during the primary, he doesn't actually stand for those things. I think that he himself, in terms of his belief system, is a very pragmatic person, right? I think he said a lot of things in order to get the primary votes, in order to get himself to be nominated. What scares me, though, is the fact that he was willing to say things that he knew he didn't believe, and he knew
So
he
what
didn't
did
know
he
were
say
true.
that he didn't believe? Because quite frankly, the one complaint I've had about Trump is he's been short on detail. He's going to build a wall, and the Mexicans are paid for it. By the
But
way, I read
tell me
today,
but
Elizabeth
tell-
Warren said that was racist, by the way, and I don't know how building a wall is racist, but that's
Well,
another
it's
story.
not
But tell
racist.
me, every politician that I've ever seen says what they need to say in order to get elected. And then when it matters is when they come to the table, when it comes to decision making, actual execution, what are they getting done?
Well,
Well,
they're
and
getting
there
done
is-
whatever the people that put them there want them to get done.
Therein lies the problem with our political
But
system. Is the
that
fact that
comes-
they reward people who lie to us.
And the
But it's
Supreme
the
Court helped that.
lobbying, and it's the lobbying and the people that, it's like I've seen the thing where it says we want our politicians to be like NASCAR drivers where they have to wear uniforms that have all of their corporate sponsors actually on their uniforms.
But okay, so hate him or love him. How has Bernie Sanders deviated from what he believes in?
He's not deviated. He's not deviated at all, in my opinion. But he's a lunatic. There's no way you can give. There's no way you can give everything away.
At least he's
And-
honest about it, and I actually really don't agree with giving everything away. So here's a question that I would have for you. All right, so one of the things that I know you're opposed to is free college. We have free high school, right? So we give that away. It's part of our tax incentive. In order to have a competitive, modern world society, what's the level of education that we need to have for people to have in order to be competitive?
Now,
But what
Colin,
are
let
we?
me ask
But
you
the
that. How
question is,
many
what are we
college-
educating on?
Well, right. how
Because
many
right
college grads
now,
do we have
our
don't have a
VOTech,
job?
our trade school, we don't have enough VOTech graduating, career technology, whatever you want to call it, the plumbers, the linemen, the utility men, whatever it is. We don't have enough skilled workers to fill the jobs we have right now. We have a bunch of kids going out and getting bachelor's degrees and master's degrees, and they have 2 or 3 degrees each. They can't find a job, especially if they're in the liberal arts, but yet we've got all these
But guess
trade
what?
positions open that we can't find people
Those
to fill
people
them.
are doing it because they're paying for it. So we
So
have
now
no
we
control
have
over
how
it.
many trillions of dollars of student debt because somebody told them they had to go get an education, and
way-
somebody told their parents they had to go get an education. So something's out of balance here with being able to fill the labor, the workforce that we have from A to Z.
And by the way, plumbers make a really good living.
Oh,
That's a
seriously,
very
there was
good
a meme
point.
I saw, there's a cartoon I saw where the guy, where it's like this one comment was the mother talking to little Johnny saying, oh, you don't want to be that utility worker because that's not a high education, da 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 da. And then the next mother on the bottom saying, yeah, that guy's making about 6 figures a year. That's a really great job. You should go after that.
And in all fairness, that's a good point, but we're going to have to wrap this segment up. Next up on the flip side, we'll look at your legal standing to defend yourself with a gun. Is it really fair to the attacker? You are going to want to stick around for this.